Welcome to EPG Pathshala program. I am Professor Ajmer Singh Malik and today delivering a lecture on public accountability. The objective of this lecture is to discuss about or to understand about the concept of public accountability and how it has evolved over the years. Besides, efforts will also be made in this lecture or in this talk to discuss about the various types of the public accountability. No doubt, the process of the public accountability and the different means of ensuring public accountability will also be discussed, but those will be in a very summarized manner, because there is another module which will discuss these means of public accountability in this course on public administration. Public accountability, what is it? Let's have a look on it. In modern public governance system, normally we find that public accountability means a commitment of the governance towards its people. The commitment is envisaged in the philosophy of modern democratic state. It is believed that the origin of the word accountable is credited to the Latin term computer, which means to count. Hence, accountability means requiring a person to produce a count of either the properties or money that had been left in his or her care. Even now, the concept of accountability is normally taken in financial context, although it has become only one of the dimensions of the word accountability. The scope of accountability nowadays has acquired many kinds of dimensions, and naturally the financial aspect has a diminished role or diminished constituent of the wider concept of accountability. First of all, let's try to define or let's try to understand the meaning of accountability, because accountability is a more generic term and public accountability is a specific term, means one of the species of the term accountability. Let's discuss the meaning given in different dictionary. For example, Oxford English Dictionary defines the word accountable as liable to be called to account. Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines it a quality or state being accountable, especially an obligation or willingness to accept responsibility or to account for one's actions. The Encyclopedia of Governance, which is very pertinent to the discipline of public administration and public accountability, refers the term accountability, that is, to both the capacity and obligation on someone to produce an account. It means that there is one person who is responsible for the action taken by him or by her. So this is in that one. But the action taken by the person are also dependent upon the capacity of that person. Means merely entrusting a responsibility or making someone accountable does not depend upon the legal framework or we say the formalized system. Rather, it also depends upon the capacity of the person to understand that responsibility or that liability which he is likely to discharge. The term is also defined as, if it is defined as in this sense, as we discussed in the Encyclopedia of Governance, it can be applied both on an individual as well as on an organization. Means the term accountability does not differentiate between the individual and the organization. It is also believed, or it is also informed, rather we say, that it can be assumed or it can be applied willingly, internal or self-imposed, or it may be externally imposed one. Again, in simple words, say that accountability may be assumed by someone in himself willingly, may not be imposed by outside agency, or it may be entrusted or imposed by certain external agency on that particular person and making him liable to discharge certain functions or certain actions. It also, the term accountability does not differentiate between public institutions and the private institution. It also does not differentiate between the political institutions or the administrative institutions. And many times we say, but one thing is there, that its assumptions or its application varies from one organization to another organization, or its understanding also depends on from one agencies to another agencies. Moreover, it depends upon the systems, it depends upon the scope, it depends upon the pattern, how we take it as an accountability. And therefore, but one thing is quite clear in this case, that whatever the organization or whosoever is the person performing certain actions in a social context, that the accountability is universally found in the actions of all those persons or in all those organizations or agencies. Accountability primarily means that someone is answerable to someone else. Again, I am emphasizing this aspect. This is a very important aspect of the accountability. Means that someone who is performing the action is answerable to someone else, maybe the external, maybe the internal, or to the organization, and for certain specified task. And those tasks are legitimately assigned to the person who is answerable, and he is also endowed with the requisite authority to perform those actions. Again, at the cost of repeating it, I am saying that there is someone who is accountable to someone else who is external, and he is accountable for some actions which are legitimately assigned to that person who is accountable, and for performing those actions he is endowed with the requisite authority. Only that accountability is. This is also known as the process of accountability. Means it has three components: someone who is to whom it is responsible, and for the actions. In case of public accountability, now I'm coming to the word public accountability from the accountability. The accountability when applied in the government setting or in public law, that is called the public accountability. It is the accountability which is concerned with the elected leaders and the government officials and their actions naturally. Moreover, it may be by the law, by the constitution, or by the traditions also. Sometimes it is tradition also, but it is always as per under the domain of the public law or in public interest. Then if accountability pertains to that, then it is the public accountability. And generally public accountability depends on certain factors, that there are certain components or certain elements of the public accountability or the accountability, whatever you take it. First of all, it may be related to the capacity to monitor the performance. The question is that the political leadership or the executive to whom someone is accountability, they must having the capacity to monitor performance. In other words, we can say the level or the quality of public accountability depends upon the capacity to perform, capacity to monitor the performance. Second, that is the capacity to invoke sanctions and rewards. Means the person who is made who has been made, who has been empowered to make someone accountability, they must have the capacity to invoke sanctions and rewards also. Then it depends also by the decision taken by them in ensuring the accountability. Naturally, it is also measured in terms of the discretion exercised by the people or by the concerned one, and naturally the action taken on. All these constitutes, or these are the interrelated components of the accountability and public accountability. Mohit Bhattacharya in this context regarding the meaning of the accountability states that major concern in accountability is how to ensure who wield power exercise it responsibly so that they can be held accountability. This is an important aspect, that the concern in accountability or public accountability is that whosoever is possessing the powers to perform certain actions, how they have to be made accountable to whom that authority really belongs to. Mohit Bhattacharya has stated three purposes of the accountability. The first one, it controls the abuse of bureaucratic power. The second, it assures that the public officials will perform in accordance with certain standards and quality. And the third is, there should be a continuous improvement in governance and public management as a result of this public accountability. I'm trying to explain the third point, that it is inherent. If we ensure accountability in administration, then that accountability lead to the improvement in the governance, and that improvement is a continuous one, and that will ensure better public management, and that's why there may be the better accountability or better public accountability. DFID, that's again an international agency that has put the meaning of public accountability as ensuring that official in public, private and voluntary sector organizations, I'm repeating, ensuring that officials in public, private and voluntary sector organizations are answerable for their actions, and there is redress when duties and commitment are not met. This is a change. There is something which is added to the concept here. The question is that this definition or this meaning that ensures that accountability is not only applied to the public organization, rather it can be applied to the private as well as non-governmental organization. The second, it emphasizes that if there is not a redressal mechanism, redressal of the grievances of the people concerned, or the citizen concerned, or the customer concerned, then in that circumstances there is no use of the accountability, and that's why it is an advancement on the meaning we have earlier discussed. And official can be made, according to DFID, officials can be made accountable in 4 counts. Number 1, setting the standards by investigating the affairs. Number 2, by making them answerable to someone, and by imposing certain sanctions if they deviate from the expected pattern of behavior. Now, the second part of this lecture that is devoted to the concept. This is somewhat a serious academic exercise, and that's why I'll try to make it in a very slow and by focusing on different aspects and the different scholars who have contributed to the concept of public accountability and accountability. Along with this, because I've divided this lecture on the basis of the viewpoints of the different scholars, that's why I'll also discuss the different types of the accountability. They have they try to categorize on the basis of certain context or certain factors. What are those? First of all, there is one adjournee who is a scholar, and he considered that the people employ the term in three concrete contexts. Means the accountability term is used in three contexts. Gioni outlined it. What are those three? The first one, it refers to greater responsibility and responsiveness on the part of public officials. The second is, it is used to allude to greater attention to the community. Means community must be the focus for the accountability purpose. And the third, it means the greater commitment to values. These are the three important considerations or three important contexts in which Gioni tried to explain the term or the concept of accountability, and suggested that these terms can be utilized for alternative conceptions. Means there are four alternative conceptions of the term accountability or the public accountability. What are those four? This is an important aspect, and this is the basic, and you come across this kind of the situation in your country, in your public governance system. The first one, that there is a symbolic use of autonomy and it is a gesture only. The autonomy, when given to public official or an agency or an administrative agency, it is a symbolic one and it is a gesture only. An administration may make vague promises about improving accountability mechanism. It means there is a promise on the part of the administrative official that I'll make it more accountable, or I'll use a more accountable mechanism for delivering certain services to the citizen, but he never follows it. That is only as a gesture, but the conditions, the organizational conditions and the context are such that he may not be able to follow that kind of accountability. This is false promise in that sense. The second alternative conception of accountability means the first one is the false one. It is a symbolic one. If we don't take it as a false one, it is a symbolic one. The second alternative conception of accountability is, it may be an ongoing process as the administrators react to the pressure of a particular interest groups, depending upon the power they yield, and change in relative power will produce a significant change in accountability. In a very simple sense, generally an administrative officials react according to the authority or the power of interest groups. If the interest group can pressurize the administrative agency or an administrative official, then they become more accountable. If the power of that particular interest group diminishes over the period of time because of certain circumstances, then that same administrative official may not be so accountable as it was accountable when that interest group was powerful one. Means the administrative accountability changes with the changes in the controlling authority. That is the political power, or the power possessed by the interest group. The third alternative conception given by Gioni is relating to the formal legal approach. And in this formal legal approach, Gioni states, formal system of checks and balances which promotes accountability. It means there are certain forces behind the scenes which are making the decisions and getting those decisions legitimized through formal system of rules and regulations and the statutory provisions. This is also means, again, it is a symbolic one. Someone is doing something but being formalized apparently, and this is another approach. Generally, we take it as a formal legal approach of defining the concept of public accountability. Then fourth, that is the guidance approach used by Gioni. Gioni sees accountability as the interactions of all the three we discussed: symbolic administrator reacting to the pressure groups, formal legal approach. That interaction of these factors plus a moral base, with the administrator playing an active role in mobilizing, educating, forming new alternatives and coalition building. This is a very positive aspect. Means all the three approaches we discussed, that is there, but there is certain moral consideration on the part of the administrative official, and because of those moral consideration he remains active and we say sensitive to the needs of the people by using or by providing a system which is more accountable to the citizen one. This is that kind. Thus a journey made to understand the dynamics of accountability in real sense. It is not a static concept. Rather, it is a dynamic concept. It changes with the change in power and senior subordinate relationship, and power and we say that whosoever is endowed with the power, that kind of the relationship. Similarly, there is another scholar, Stone. He argued that Westminster system of the ministerial responsibility or the ministerial accountability. They say that there are five aspects of or the five conceptions of the public accountability. What are those five conceptions? Number one, there is a parliamentary control over the minister. This is one. This is the in England or in United Kingdom there is a ministerial responsibility, and that ministerial relation to the ministerial responsibility, Stone stated that there are five conceptions of the accountability, and those five conceptions are: number one, the parliamentary control; the second is the managerialism, how a minister is professional in taking the decision or in controlling the affairs under him. The third is the judicial and quasi-judicial review. Naturally, whatever is performed by the minister, whatever the decision is taken, those are subjected to the judicial review. And the fourth is the constituency relationship. This is again a very important one. Many times there are crises because of this one. Because politically, minister is accountable to the voters and the people whom he is representing. This is again a very important aspect. Collective responsibility and all these things are maybe associated with it. And lastly, it is the market. What the market is saying and the what kind of the control it is keeping on the ministerial accountability. This is again a very important, and Stone has outlined, or Stone has discussed about all these things. Another scholar, Romerick and Ingraham, they identified, both of them identified 4 types of accountability, which are hierarchical, legal, professional and political. This is a traditional concept of accountability. Another scholar, Jabra and Dwivedi, they also defined accountability in the context of public service, a little bit different one. They have taken the institution of the public service as a focus for defining the public accountability, and according to them, it is the methods by which a public agency or a public official fulfills its duties and obligation, and the process by which that agency or public official is required to account for such actions. And according to them, there are 5 elements of public accountability. These are number 1, organizational or administrative. Those are related to the hierarchical kind of the accountability. The second is the legal one. Again, legal one consists of that's relating to the compliance to the statutory provisions, as well as the judicial judicial scrutiny is a part of it. The third is the professional one, and when we talk about the performance, means how the public officials have been able to perform as per the public interest. This is another important thing. And the fourth is political one, which determines the legitimacy of the decisions and action taken by the public official. And the last one is the moral, that is respecting the social system. And all the five components that constitutes the public accountability. So the concept consists of all these 5 elements according to the Jabra and Dibet. Now we are shifting to an important event, particularly during the 1990s, when new public management, or we say in a post-globalization era, there is a change on the public accountability or on the concept of the public accountability. If we first of all, I'll try to make some comments how new public management has changed the perspective of governance. Generally, it is considered new public management has brought a paradigm shift in traditional public administrative system and in traditional public administrative law. It has focused on performance and it has focused on policy output, instead of regular and effective implementation of authority in the traditional public administrative system. New public management system has been able to distinguish between the respective domain of politics and administration. The new public management is advocating for more autonomy for the policy implementation from the legislative branch of the state. Means the administration must be independent in implementing the policy according to the rule of, as per the rule of law, and it must have the freedom so that the performance may be increased and they may be more productive in their performance. As a result of the new public management, the political accountability particularly, that has become a procedural one, whereas the administrative accountability has become more focused in terms of output. Means if we take the political accountability and administrative accountability, the political accountability is a procedural one as provided there in the constitution or the statutory provision. But in case of the administrative accountability, it has become focused on the output of the administrative official or the administrative organization. The new public management that has brought certain challenges to the concept of the public accountability. What are those challenges? This is a very important aspect. The challenges are, number one, in terms of efficiency. New public management advocates for the efficiency. That's why if we have to make the administration an efficient one, we have to make someone accountable for the efficiency, then we have to provide certain autonomy. It's for example. And other challenges like the efficiency those are relating to the outcome of the public official or the administrative organization, that may be relating to the competition, that market economy is, we say there is a competition in the market economy and the public organization have to compete with the private entity. Similarly, there is a concerns for value for money. If taxpayer is paying some money or for getting certain services, naturally it demands efficiency and effective delivery of service. Then again, the government has acquired a catalytic role now. Means it is performing or delivering the services to the citizens or the customer nowadays through either through the public-private partnership or through the contracting out the services to the private entity. In such a situation, that challenge or the concept of accountability has also changed. Not only this one, the government autonomy and the customer orientation approach, that has also posed certain challenges, or rather it has brought a paradigm shift in the concept of public accountability, which we have discussed and which we were following before the advent of new public management in the system. The challenges we discussed with you, they have brought changes in the concept, as I stated earlier, in terms of 3 aspects. Number one, in terms of standards, in terms of agents, in terms of the means. Means the standards of the accountability that have changed, the agents who will be responsible, those have changed, and means how to make them accountable, that has changed. There is a paradigm shift of those changes. Now, the accountability, public accountability or accountability that emphasizes on economy, on efficiency, on productivity in place of public interest, democratic values and political and citizen rights. Means the citizens needs an efficient administration, an economic administration, a productive, performance-oriented administration. It may serve public interest or there may be compromise. There may be up to a level compromise in public interest, democratic values and political and citizen rights of the people. And therefore, the concern for accountability has changed from collective citizenship to individual citizenship. Now, it is the public administration is not responsible, not only responsible, rather not responsible to the society as a whole, but it is accountable to an individual citizen whom we consider as customer or whom we consider as the customer, and therefore new public management has made the administrative system as a customer oriented one. This is an important aspect. And the customer, sometimes we call them clients also, although the usage of these words is in a particular context, and that's not a part of this particular lecture. That's why I'm unable to take up that matter now. Moreover, we say that the availability of the social rights, which were considered important in the traditional public administration, in the new era, that has diminished, and individual rights, we say, that has become an important one. Naturally, as a result of all this, the concept of the political neutrality that has diluted, and since the minister has to perform, public organization has to perform, public official has to perform, and that has made the public official or the civil servant subordinate to the political executive, and as a result of that, the performance has become important, and as a result of that, he has not remained neutral, rather he has sided with the boss or the political executive, and in such a circumstances, the traditional concept of the political neutrality, that has diluted one. There are certain other scholars also, 2 or 3, I'll take some time relating to that and try to summarize this thing. That Robert Gregory, another scholar, that he is of the opinion that public accountability is concerned with how well or badly public official, both political and administrative, operates in the public interest, and more with whether they abuse the authority. I am taking up these scholars in a different context. Although I have discussed about the impact of new public management on the concept of the public, on the concept of the public accountability, but these are the writers who have given or contributed to the conception of public accountability after in the 21st century and they considered, as we discussed earlier, that no doubt the role of the public interest has diminished because of the new public management. The administration has become the customer oriented, but it does not, we say, the public interest is still there, and that's why that Robert Gregory is concerned that the public accountability must be concerned with the public interest, and it must take into account how well or how badly public official treat or operates in the public interest. If they are doing in public interest, naturally they are accountable. If they are not doing, then they are not accountable, and corrective actions are required for that purpose. Moreover, Robert Gregory is also of the opinion that public accountability is concerned with reducing the opportunity for corruption, maladministration, and legal impropriety that come to people in position in power. Means this is somewhat relating to the good governance, how to make the governance or the actions of the public official, both political and executive, towards the good governance or the better governance that is in the public interest. Therefore, the effectiveness of this kind of the public accountability depends upon the legal system. Normally we find the legal system which is obsolete one, that has not been able to cope with the new kinds of the situation in administration or in governance. But not only the legal system, it also depends upon the independence of the judicial system that has been given the responsibility of the judicial or legal scrutiny. That's why they consider that the effectiveness of this kind of the accountability will depend upon the legal framework available at a particular point of time in a particular country or particular state, as well as the independence of the judicial system, which can scrutinize the actions of the public officials according to the legal system or the prevalent legal institutional framework of that particular country. And it is also termed as the legal accountability, sometimes as the constitutional accountability. Another scholars, Taro Erkila, categorized the accountability into 6 categories. These are based on their features, based on mechanism, based on the administrative context. These are political, bureaucratic, personal, professional. 4. These are traditional, earlier stated, and that's why I'm not giving much time on this. There are 2 alternative categories of public accountability. Erkila pointed out, those are the performance and deliberations. Performance and deliberation as a result of the change in the paradigms of the governance, and Erkila stated these are the new or alternative conceptions of the public accountability. And Erkila found that there is a shift in the locus of power, particularly from 1980s onwards, late 1980s on. What are those shifts in locus of power? Number 1. There is upward shift emphasizing the role of international organizations. There is upward shift, and that upward shift is the role of international organization that has increased in the governance. Second, there is a downward shift, and that is through the decentralization, that is granting local governments with more autonomy. And the third shift is from government to private and non-governmental organizations. These 3 contexts or these 3 kinds of the shift have changed the concept of the public accountability, and as a result of this, the performance and deliberation kinds of the alternative concepts given by Erkila, that has become an important one. Means governance is concerned about the performance, governance is also concerned with the deliberations with the citizens or with the customers or with the clients, whatever you call it. These are the things which are given by Taro Erkila relating to the public accountability. And that's why those are, in other words, we can say that the traditional accountability nowadays, that has been losing grounds, or we say that has been losing its sign, whereas the alternative or new kinds of the performance and deliberation kind of accountability, that is gaining grounds nowadays. But it doesn't mean that there is no role of the traditional accountability. It is not substituted, rather it is in coexistence with the traditional accountability. Lastly, discuss about 2 concepts. One is the political accountability, 2 types of the accountability, rather we say political accountability and administrative accountability. There is also need to differentiate between accountability and responsibility. First of all, let's take the political responsibility. What is it? Normally, political responsibility related to the democracy and legitimacy. And it means whosoever govern are responsible for their action to the people directly or indirectly. This is the political accountability. This kind of accountability is external in nature, and it depends upon many things. First of all, it depends upon the mechanism of political representation, how we are representing, how we are electing them in a direct, in a straight, and how we are linking the citizens with their legislators, that is the political representatives. Naturally, the electors or the voters or the citizens, they influence the behavior of the political representatives or control or make them accountable through the electoral process. There is that political accountability also depends on the formalized relationship between executive and the legislative powers. The question is, generally there is a tendency, once we elect our representatives, they forget about the promises. And how to remind them those promises? Recalling them, whether we can do or not, censoring them. I don't know. We have not been able to use all these mechanisms. We have only one mechanism, that is through the electoral process. But the political accountability is considered one of the significant mechanism of control over the political system in a democratic setup we are having at present. And the nature or the extent of the political accountability in real sense determines the quality of democracy and the quality of the public management. Means the good governance is largely decided by the elected representative or the political accountability we may be able to enforce in a system. This is the beauty of this political accountability. Whereas the administrative accountability is considered as straight because the administrative officials operate in a definite hierarchical structure, and there is a division of labor among the administrative officials depending upon the capacities they are possessing for that purpose. The contents and process of decision making are explicitly stated for the administrative officials or for the administrative organization. It is a formal system of accountability. Administrative accountability is a formal system of accountability and can be easily examined. Means we can libel a public official or a public agency if it has not performed as per the expected norms or as expected from that particular official or public agency. So administrative accountability, no doubt it is an internal one, it is straight one, and it can be imposed. But whereas the political accountability is more wider, external, and it is difficult to be imposed. This is the difference as well as the relationship between the political and administrative accountability. Now, we start with the accountability and responsibility. Mulligan considered accountability was first conceived in the notion of responsibility. He defines accountability as a process being called to account someone's authority to someone action, a process of giving an account. And it is about compliance with authority. Accountability means of someone to someone for some actions. And it is compliance with the authority. Means whatever is authority is assigned, you have to act according to that one. And it is considered, accountability is considered as negative because it prevents the misuse of power endowed to certain officials. Whereas the responsibility, Robert Gregory said about it, that responsibility is about the moral conflicts and issue of life and death. Means it has a moral contents, whereas in case of accountability, the contents are political and organizational housekeeping one. Therefore, responsibility is related to the empowerment and independence. If you are empowered, if you are independent, then there is some feeling that you work according to certain social norms. This is the responsibility, and therefore the responsibility is not negative as accountability is. It is a positive one, and it requires for the action taken for the betterment of, for the better governance. Therefore, there is a distinction between accountability and responsibility, although according to the Mulgan, the accountability originated in the concept or idea or notion of responsibility. So that this is relating to the concept of public accountability, contribution made by the different scholars we have discussed at length, and naturally this concept has given that the process of accountability consists of three things. That is, first of all, that who is accountable, we have to identify it. To whom someone is accountable, we have to fix up that one, and we have to determine that. And the third is for what someone is accountable. This is the process, and in a process of accountability, we have to take the three things in an important way. Lastly, there are certain means and methods of ensuring public accountability. There are two types of means and methods. Those are the internal and external. As I stated earlier, it will be discussed in certain other lectures in the course of the public administration, but a brief summary about the different kinds of the internal and external means and methods of ensuring public accountability, at least we will try to we will enlist here for your reference. The first of all, we take up the internal means and methods of ensuring public accountability. There are hierarchical, you understand now, senior subordinate relationship are there, budgetary system is there, that budget is controlled by the authorities which are supervisory in nature. Then there are the different means of the personnel management, right from recruitment to the code of conduct, disciplinary actions, all those things. Annual confidential reports are there. Efficiency survey, that's an important one. Professional standards are being laid down in the form of many kinds of, in many formats. Then administrative leadership is there, that is motivating and making the subordinates to be responsible for the cause of organization. And lastly, there may be investigations. If someone has deviated from the expected behavior pattern, then that case may be investigated and corrective action may be taken in that regard. That is the internal means and methods of ensuring accountability in the organization. Similarly, there are certain external means and methods of accountability, which we classify them, that the legislative control. These are the parliamentary control in a parliamentary form of governance. That's a detailed discussion is required, and there is a separate module on it, a separate lecture on it. Similarly, executive control is there, that is political executive control, and then senior subordinate hierarchical system are there. Judicial scrutiny is there, we call it the judicial control. And the citizen controls by different means. Different means by ombudsman, by administrative courts, by parliamentary commissions, and very popular means that is Lokpal, Lok Ayukt, etc. So these are the different kinds of the means and methods of exercising control. And these controls are no doubt in a particular context. Those are, and they have the different impact on the accountability. So these are the different kind of the control. And in the last, I would like to say the concept of accountability which we discussed in this lecture. In the present time, that has not confined to the public setting or public administration alone. Rather, it has covered private sector as well as the non-governmental organizations also. And the tools and techniques which are applied to ensure accountability, those are very different and very varied, keeping in view the context, keeping in view particularly the situation in a particular area or in a particular cultural setting. And as for example, the civic societies, those have gaining grounds in controlling the administrative system. Public opinion is also gaining ground. Media is controlling the administration, and naturally if those are deviating from the patterns, expected patterns, then they try to rectify and and media and public opinion criticizes. And in a present political setting, the opinion has become a very important one, and therefore let's hope that that the nation or the public administrative system will go for better public accountability. And in the last, again, I'll say that for reference, for better understanding of the concept of public accountability, you refer to the module written on this particular topic of the EPG Pathshala program, and there are many references given at the end of that text, e-text provided to you, and that will help you in understanding in a more wider way. Whatever the limited times we have in these lectures, we try to explain it in a explicitly manner, but there are many things which may not be understood in the right sense. Those may be referred, and you can also check your progress by answering or by finding out the answers given at the end of the text. Thank you very much.